stars of the film winner. Came at a very great expense from Japan to be just here for this screening. And of course we have Bethan again, who's going to help translate, although as you already know, he doesn't really need it. I'm just going to start, before we really get down into the nitty-gritty, just in a very general way. I know there are certain things you really want to kind of share with us about the kind of ideas behind the film, and I'm just going to ask you just to start off by giving us a little bit of background in terms of the earthquakes and so forth.
Okay, so thank you so much for watching Suzume. Did you enjoy the movie?
Yes.
Yes. そうですね、最初にじゃあ、どうしてこの映画を作ったかの話を少しだけさせてください。
Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about why I made this film first, if that's okay.
この映画皆さんご覧になってお気づきになったかもしれませんが、日本で12年前に起きた実際の地震災害、東日本大震災というのが、ストーリーのベースにあります。
So you may well have noticed, as you're watching the film, that this film is based on something that actually happened in Japan 12 years ago, the Great East Japan earthquake.
12年前に、日本の東側、東北で地震が起きて、その後大きな津波が来て、皆さんご存知の福島の原発の、メルトダウンがあり、多くの日本人、多くの、東北に住んでいる方々が、日本の西側に、避難しなければいけないということがありました。
As you know, 12 years ago in the Tohoku region of Japan, there was an enormous earthquake that caused a huge tsunami, and then you'll have all heard about the Fukushima nuclear meltdown as well. And many Japanese people, many people in the Tohoku region had to flee their homes and head west.
スズメが、九州という日本の西の方の島に住んでいて、そこから、東にだんだん移動して故郷に戻っていくんですが、12年前実際にスズメのような、家を亡くした母を亡くした少女が、あるいは少年が実際に日本には何人もいたんですね。
And Suzume in the film has moved to Kyushu in the west of Japan, and throughout the movie she gradually heads back to where she came from. And there are a lot of young boys, young girls in Japan who, just like Suzume, lost their homes and lost their parents, their mothers in the earthquake.
スズメが、故郷に戻って、故郷の後ろドア、ゲートから、常世に飛び越えます。エバーアフターに飛び越えますよね。その時に、地面が燃えていますよね。街が燃えています。あれはなぜ燃えていたかというと、実際に東北に津波が来た後、波が去って家が全て海の向こうに流されてしまった後、火事が起きて、東北の沿岸でたくさん大きな火事が起きたんです。
And Suzume, as you saw, she gets back to where she came from. She goes through the gate into the ever after, and it's all burnt out through there. The ground is burnt, all the houses are burnt. And the reason for that is that after the tsunami in Tohoku, after the homes and the houses were all washed away, the fires came.
スズメの心の中では12年経った今でも、燃えた街の風景が心の中にはある、そんなことを想像しながらシーンを描きました。
And my thoughts there were that this scene, this burnt out landscape, is still there in Suzume's heart, even 12 years on.
あるいは常世で建物の上に船が乗っている不思議な眺めがいくつかあったと思います。あれはなぜ船が建物の上にあるのかわかりますか？
You will also have seen in the ever after that there were a few boats sitting on top of buildings, and I wonder if you realized why that was.
それは建物の高さを超える津波が来たからです。津波が引いた後、船が建物の上に残されたんです。
That was because the tsunami, the height of the tsunami was higher than the buildings, and when the waves withdrew, there were boats that were left sitting on top of buildings.
ですから、このスズメという物語は、日本人にとっては、トラウマとなるような、とても悲しい出来事がベースにあります。
So the whole story of Suzume is based on something that was very sad and very traumatic for Japanese people.
ただ僕はこの映画をとても楽しくて、たくさんの笑いのあふれた映画にしたかったんですね。なぜならば、人はどんな災害があった後でも笑いながら大人になっていくことができるし、誰かを好きになることもあるし、誰かに好きになってもらうという人生も続くからです。
But I wanted this to be a fun film, and I wanted it to be full of laughter, because whatever we've been through, whatever traumatic experiences we have, we can still grow, we can still live on, we can still laugh, we can still fall in love, and that's what happens in life.
ですから今日はこの映画を見て、少しでも笑ってくれたり、楽しいなと思ってくれたのであれば、僕はとても幸せです。
So if you laughed, if you enjoyed the film, then that makes me very happy.
That's all what I wanna have to say.
The great thing for me is that's my first 7 questions now. That's my deal. Thank you. So I wanted to ask you about, so a lot of the films that we play here, particularly some of the Western animated films, they kind of clearly have a kind of a very global look and they have a very global intention to them. And I think what is very special about your films, and in this one I think really sort of satisfies that, is that it's a very Japanese film. It's very noticeably Japanese in terms of its location and the way that it's made and the way that it looks. But it has a global message. The fact it communicates with an audience all the way over here in London. And I wonder if you could just talk to us about, sort of keeping that sort of that sort of Japanese spirit and thinking about sort of Japan at the forefront, if that makes sense.
はい、そうですね。僕はロンドンもそうなんですけれども、ヨーロッパとかあるいはアメリカロサンゼルスとか欧米の国に行くとなんだかちょっとだけ居心地が悪いような感覚を受けるんですね。
So when I go to London, to other European cities, to the States, to LA, to the West, there's always something a little bit uncomfortable.
それはいや、I don't wonder, but それはやっぱりその映画の世界では欧米がグローバルスタンダードだからです。彼らが作り上げたものが映画で、僕たちはどこかストレンジャーのような、そこに迷い込んだお客さんのような感覚がどこかにあるんですね。
I love London, of course. But what I mean is, in the film world, it's like the West has set the global standard, and I feel like a stranger who's kind of wandered in, or like a guest.
ですから僕はどうせストレンジャーなのだから映画を作るのであれば自分たちの足元の地面を掘りたいというふうに思っています。自分たちの風土というか自分たちの立っている国、日本という国はすごく地震が多くていつも揺れている国なんですけれども、その地面を掘ろうと自分たちの足元、自分たちの伝統なり歴史なりを深く掘っていけば、もしかしたらそれは、欧米の国たち、皆さんの心にもつながっているかもしれないし、とにかく足元を掘っていけばそれがグローバルに通じていく、そんなことがあったらいいなと、半ば願いながら映画を作っています。
And so I think if I'm a stranger anyway, I might as well try and find something local to me. So to dig down into the ground where I stand, and in my own neighborhood, in my own country, which is somewhere where there are a lot of earthquakes, where the ground is constantly shaking. If I dig deep here, then I might find something that can connect to audiences in the West, that can connect to you, and that's what I'm hoping to do by digging deep into a Japanese story.
And I think the other thing that's really noticeably different about this film from the last films you've made is its kind of the sheer scope of it, the clear ambition that you have to almost kind of reach us a wider and more broader audience perhaps than some of your other films have met. And I mean, when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about some of the elements like having the chair, for example, and the humour through the chair, while you've still got some of the more mature themes and you've still got some of the themes and the genres that you've explored before, you've definitely kind of broadened the appeal. This is a film that you could take your kids to, and I know that obviously you have a 12-year-old daughter yourself, so I wonder whether that was also at the back of your mind.
はいはい、そうですね。12歳の娘がいることはもしかしたら、確かに関係しているかもしれないですね。
Yeah, maybe my 12-year-old daughter did have something to do with it.
スズメという映画を作るのに、たくさんのスタッフで、2年半かかったんですけれども、ですから僕は、COVID の期間中だったということもあって、僕は多くの時間自宅で作って、オンラインでスタッフとコミュニケーションしていました。
So to make Suzume, it took a lot of people, and it took us 2.5 years, and a lot of that was during COVID, which meant that I was at home working a lot of the time, and I was communicating with my team online.
ですので、娘がよく僕が作ってるところを見に来たんですね。まだできないの、まだ書いてるの、まだできないのっていうふうにこう何度も何度も2年間聞くんです。
And so my daughter saw a lot of the process, and she watched me working, and she would always say, "Isn't it ready yet? Is it still not ready yet? It's been on for 2 years."
It was so annoying. でもその映画が完成して娘が、映画館に行ってスズメを見てくれたんですね。
But when it was finished, she went to the cinema and she watched Suzume.
映画を見終わった時に娘が最初に言った言葉が「お父さんもう一回見たい」と「もう一回スズメ見せてほしい」と「もう一回この映画を見たい」と言いました。
And the first thing she said after she watched it was, "Daddy, can I watch it again?"
でも夜だったので、日本の法律で、夜9時を過ぎると子供は映画館に入れないので1回しか見せられなかったんですけども。
Unfortunately, though, children aren't allowed into cinemas in Japan after 9 o'clock, and it was already approaching that time, so she couldn't see it again.
ただお父さん結構すごい映画を作っていたんだねと見終わった後娘が褒めてくれました。
But it seems like she realized after she saw it just what a great film that her daddy had been making, and she was proud of that.
ですからそうですね、娘のためだけではありませんが、こう小さな子供も、あるいは自分たちの世代も、あるいはもっと上の世代の方も映画館に行って退屈をさせないような映画を作りたいとは、最近はすごくよく思うんですね。
But it's not just about my daughter. Recently, I've been thinking a lot about how to make a film that younger children, that my own generation, that older generations can go and watch and not be bored.
20年前初めて BFI に来てジャスティンと会った時は僕はそんなことは考えていませんでした。僕の年齢ぐらい、当時30歳だったんですが、30歳前後の人にさえ見てもらえればそれでいいというふうに思っていました。
20 years ago, when I first came here and I met Justin, that wasn't something that crossed my mind. At that time, I was about 30, and I was happy if people of my own age came to watch the film.
だから考え方が随分変わったんです。
So my thinking has changed quite a bit.
随分年を取ったなと自分でも思います。
And I feel old.
You'll feel that. One thing, there was a lot made, I remember very much in the early days of your career, people loved putting labels on people. They were like, oh, he's next Miyazaki and all this sort of stuff. And I remember, you kind of distancing yourself from sort of Ghibli in certain ways. But I really feel with this film, there is a sort of, maybe a homage going on. You've talked about Kiki, I think, before. And it does feel like you've got a talking cat in there. You've got, obviously, the chair. You've got some of the pop songs, actually, like the 80s kind of soundtrack, which is not dissimilar to sort of the Kiki music, so to speak. And I wonder if that was a self-conscious thing this time.
そうですね、僕はもうどの国に行ってもネクスト宮崎であったりとか、ジブリについてどう思うかとかも聞かれていて、ちょっとうんざりだというふうに最近は思い始めてます。
Yes, wherever I go, people refer to me as the next Miyazaki and ask me what I think about Ghibli, and I kind of started getting fed up with that.
ですからなるべくジブリからは離れた場所、ジブリとは違う作品を作りたいというふうに最近は強く思います。それでもやっぱり自分が一番好きな監督は宮崎駿なので、影響はどうしても受けてしまっていますね。
So I have tried recently to make things that are quite far removed from what Ghibli makes, and yet Miyazaki Hayao is my favorite director, and so I can't help but be influenced.
例えばジャスティンが言ってくれた魔女の宅急便の音楽がかかるシーンがあるんです。車に乗って東北に向かっていくシーンで、ルージュの伝言という魔女の宅急便の主題歌がかかります。
And as you said, there is music in there from Kiki's Delivery Service. There's the theme song that plays in the car when they're driving up to Tohoku.
そのシーンに実は小さなイースターエッグを仕込んでいます。
And there's another little Easter egg in that scene.
そのシーンで主人公たちの車の後ろをトラックが追い越していくんですね。
There is a truck, a lorry behind the car that they're driving in.
そのトラックに黒猫ヤマトの宅急便というその猫と宅急便の会社のロゴを書いています。
And the truck is a Kuroneko Yamato no Takyubin, which is the Black Cat delivery service.
それは魔女の宅急便へのオマージュです。
And there's a little homage homage to
はい、ただ、まあオマージュのためだけに、まあそういう音楽を流すわけではありません。
But paying homage is not the only reason for having that music there.
僕はこの「すずめ」という映画を現実と日本社会の現実と地続きの映画にしたかったんですね。日本社会には2011年に地震があった。この映画の中にも2011年で地震が起きました。それと同じように、僕たち日本人はスタジオジブリの作品を見て育ちます。僕たちの世界にはジブリがあります。スズメたちの世界にもジブリがあって、まあ彼らもきっとジブリの映画を見たんだろうと、そういう気持ちを込めて、映画の音楽を、別の映画の音楽をスズメの中で流しています。
I wanted to show people that the Japan of Suzume is a continuation of Japan in real life. In real life, there was a huge earthquake in 2011, and in the film, there is a huge earthquake in 2011. We grow up watching Ghibli movies in Japan. These Ghibli movies exist in our world, and so they should also exist in the world of Suzume, in the world of this film. These characters will also have grown up watching the films, and that's another reason why they would be listening to this music.
東北に向かっていくときにたくさんの日本のポップソングをかけるんですね。まあ少し懐かしい夏メロヒット曲、日本人が何でも知っている曲をかけます。そうすると日本の観客はあれこの曲も知ってる、この曲も僕が好きな曲だ、この曲もよく聴く曲だと思うと、あれこの映画ってファンタジーだと思っていたけれど、もしかしたら僕たちの世界と同じような世界なのかなというふうに思い始めるわけです。
There's a lot of pop music that features on that car journey, summer songs, songs that all Japanese people will know, that Japanese people will watch and or listen to and think, I know this one, oh, I like this one, I listen to this one all the time. And that will make them start thinking, I thought this was a fantasy, but actually maybe it's set in this same world as I live in.
その後でスズメは故郷の町にたどり着きます。津波で流されてしまって何もない家のコンクリートの基礎だけが残っている場所にやってきます。そこで日本人ははっきりこの映画が2011年の311の映画だったんだということに日本の観客は気づくわけです。
And then when they get back to Suzume's hometown and it's been washed away by the tsunami and there's nothing there but just the foundations of her old home,a Japanese audience will connect and will realize that this is actually about the earthquake from March 11th, 2011.
観客をそうですね、観客と映画をつなげるために、あのような音楽の演出をしました。
So the music plays the role of connecting the audience to the film.
And as we have Soto the chair with us today, I feel like I should ask you about some of the sort of challenges of bringing kind of anthropomorphic qualities to, a chair in this case, making it funny, doing that both through the script and through obviously the design, because that's actually a very difficult thing to do.
はいはい。そうですね、先ほどお話してきたみたいにこの映画って、東日本大震災がベースにあるから基本はちょっと悲しい物語なんですよね。
Yeah, so as I said, the film is based on the Great East Japan earthquake, so it's a sad film at its heart.
それをそのまま語ってしまっては悲しい映画になりすぎてしまうというふうに思いました。ですからスズメの横に映画を明るくしてくれるパートナーが必要だと思いました。
But I didn't want it to be too sad, so I thought I needed a partner for Suzume who would lighten the mood.
そこでいろいろ考えて、ちょっと歩いているだけで笑ってしまうような可愛いキャラクターとして、3本足の椅子というのはどうだろうというふうに思いつきました。3本足ですからバランスを崩しながら歩いてなんだかね可愛らしく見えるわけです。
And I came up with this idea of a character who just watching them walk would be cute and entertaining. And I had the idea of this three-legged chair because it would be wobbly and it would even walk in an interesting way.
その時に例えばアニメーションの動きの参考にしたのは、ピクサーの、ルクソージュニアというピクサーのロゴアニメーションがありますよね。電気スタンドがジャンプしてピクサーのロゴが出てくる。ああいう無機質の CG アニメーションの無機物の CG アニメーションの動きが素晴らしいなと思って、参考にしながら椅子のアニメーションを作りました。
I don't speak Japanese, even I got that on. So.
The reference point for the animation was the Pixar logo at the start of the Pixar movies with the jumping lamp. That I really like the way that inanimate object was animated. So that was a reference for the chair.
ただまあ椅子の足を3本足にしたのはもう一つ理由があって、それは心が欠けているというメタファーです。スズメの心は、おそらくその震災のことがあって欠けた状態、心の一部がなくなってしまっている状態がスズメなんですね。
But there is another reason why the chair only has 3 legs, and that's because it is a metaphor for Suzume's heart. Because since the disaster, there's been something missing from her heart.
でも何かが欠けている心であっても走り回ることもできるし、生きていくこともできる、笑うこともできる、その欠けたものを抱えたまま生きていく、まあそういう物語にしたいと思って3本足の椅子にしました。
But I also wanted to show that even when there's something missing, you can still run around, you can still live, you can still laugh. That's the kind of film I wanted it to be.
Is it wrong to like him more as a chair than as a person?
そうですね、僕もなんか主人公のヒロインの横にずっとイケメンがいるっていうのはちょっとあんまり良くないかなと思いましたね。
No, I didn't think it would be good to have this really handsome guy with my heroine the whole time.
椅子が横にいた方がなんとなくこう、なんていうか安心して見ていられますよね。
It's a nicer feeling to have a chair. Right?
I agree. I have other questions, but I actually think there are so many of us here. I know that people are going to want to ask questions themselves. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking questions now. We have people on either side with roving microphones. And so if I can ask you to put your hand up if you have a question, and we'll do our best to try and be fair and try and cover the entire middle sides and everything. So I think, David, I'm going to get you to run down to the front here and take the question on the very, very front row here, if that's okay. And then let's take a question to the second question will be on the very, very far side, about middle of the block, and then down towards the end. Yeah, you're waving away there. There we go. So let's start there again.
Hi, thank you. So my question is for like animation making in Japan. I think they are like traditionally you can put them into sort of way of making them. One way is drawing ideas from like comic, like manga. The other way is eiga, is from film, the cinematic language, and they usually picture things in different ways. And I wonder if you have your sort of way of I don't know, balancing these two ways, or do you sort of especially depend on one way of making animation?
はい、そうですね。おそらくその、まあ、ヨーロッパの皆さんが知っている日本のアニメーションの多くが、漫画原作だと思います。週刊少年ジャンプ原作、ドラゴンボールとかスラムダンクとか、ナルトとか、呪術廻戦とか、チェーンソーマンとかね、そういうものが今とても人気ですよね。
Yeah, I think a lot of the animation, Japanese animation that is known in Europe is manga based. It comes from Shukan Shonen Jump, like Dragon Ball and Chainsaw Man and Slam Dunk and Jujutsu Kaisen.
はい、一方で僕たちの作品あるいはスタジオジブリの作品もそうなんですが、それは漫画原作のないオリジナルのアニメーションです。
But what I make and what Studio Ghibli makes is not based on manga, it's original animation.
僕はいつも思うのは、僕たちオリジナルのアニメーションというのは、漫画原作のアニメーションに助けられてるなっていうふうに思うんですね。というのは、そういう今話したようなチェーンソーマンとか漫画のアニメーションが世界中で人気なので、どうも日本のアニメーションというのは結構面白いというふうにたくさんの人が思ってくれて、じゃあ他のものも見てみようと思った時に僕の作品や、ジブリの作品があったりするんだと思うんです。
And I actually think that the animation that's based on manga helps those of us who make original animation because of the popularity of those manga-based anime around the world. People have this impression that Japanese anime is entertaining and is fun, and a lot of people then think, well, let's give this other work a try.
そういう僕たちやジブリ作品というのは、漫画原作のものに比べたらもう少しそのダイレクターセントリックというか、その作家主義だと思うんですよね。もう少しその作家的に自由にものを作ることができます。
And the original animation tends to be more director-centric than the manga-based animation. There's more freedom.
ですので日本のアニメーションというのはその2つの両輪で、回って動いているので、もしかしたらそれがこう世界的なマーケットでの日本のアニメーションの強さにつながっているのかなというふうに思ったりをします。
But basically, the Japanese animation industry has those two pillars, and I think they help with the strength and popularity of animation around the world.
Thank you for asking. Thank you.
Right, I have a question over there. Do you want to actually maybe stand up so because you're in the shadows there, so maybe we can see you there. That's okay. There we go.
Wow. Hi, first of all, I'm a huge fan and have been for a very long time, so it's an honor to be able to see you here today, so thank you for coming. The question that I do want to ask, sorry, I've got a note, is because, you know, obviously since your name came out, you've been a lot more recognized worldwide. So what I'm wondering is, you know, now when creating movies, have you had any moments when maybe a joke felt too Japanese to include, or a scene that you decided, maybe this wouldn't work for an international audience?
そうですね。最初にジャスティンと話したことともつながりますけど、僕自身はもう日本のローカルを突き詰めようと思ってるんですね。最初からグローバルマーケットというのは目指さずに、日本人がまずは楽しんでもらえるものを作れば、それは結果的に皆さんに届くんじゃないかというふうに考えています。
As I mentioned earlier, in response to Justin's question, I'm aiming for something initially that Japanese people are going to enjoy. I'm not aiming for a global market from the outset. I think if Japanese people enjoy it, then I think other people will also get it.
ただ時々プロデューサーたちから、これは海外の人には完全に意味がわからないから、やめようというふうに言われるものもあるんですね。
But sometimes the producers do tell me no one outside of Japan is going to understand this at all.
例えば車の中で何曲もポップミュージックがかかるじゃないですか。
So with the pop music in the car, for example.
僕はその中で一曲かけようと思って、使いたいと思ってでもプロデューサーに止められた曲があります。
There was one song that I wanted to use, and the producer said no.
その曲は80年代の日本の有名なポップスなんですけど、セーラー服を脱がさないでというタイトルの曲なんです。
And that was a famous Japanese pop song from the 80s called Don't Make Me Take Off My Sailor Uniform.
No plastic.
僕もその曲は好きだし、みんな日本人知ってるんですけど、このタイトルの曲はダメでしょと言われてやめました。
So I like the song. Japanese people all are familiar with the song, but they didn't think that title would go down very well. So we didn't use it.
Thank you.
Okay, have we got any more questions? David, do you want to pick somebody from maybe the middle section somewhere? The pressure's getting to me now, so I'm kind of. And then, do you want to choose somebody over this side as well? Yeah, perfect. There we are. We'll just buy you maybe. Okay, let's start over here first. Yeah.
Thank you for another wonderful film.
Thank you.
More recently, you've had a lot of films with very female protagonists with these very strong female voices. I'd like to hear your opinion on that and kind of what led you to that perspective.
そうですね、女性確かに今回の映画はスズメもスズメという少女が、いろんな各地で旅の各地で、女性に出会って成長していく物語になっていますね。
Well, in this film, as you say, the female protagonist, Suzume, goes around and meets a lot of other women.
そうだな、なんで女性が多くなってきてるのか自分でもよくわからないんですけれども、一つにはですね、この映画は災害の映画です。災害の時に、そうだな、災害の時にやっぱり、とても大変な思いをする人というのは社会的に立場の弱い人ほどやはりダメージを大きく受けると思うんですね。
I'm not even sure myself why that is that I've taken this female viewpoint, but maybe one reason is because that it centers around a disaster, and I think in times of disaster, the people who suffer in society, the weaker your position in society, the more you're going to suffer.
ですので今回のスズメというキャラクターはある意味で社会的に力の弱い人たちの物語にしたいというふうに思いました。スズメが出会う旅で出会う人たちというのは例えば、子供なんだけれど、旅館で働いているとか、あるいはそのシングルマザーとしてスナックを経営している女性であったりしますよね。
And in a way, the people that Suzume meets on her journey are the weaker members of society. You have the child who is working in the ryokan, in the inn. You have a single mother who's working in the bar.
災害に遭った少女が、そうですね、力強い日常を取り戻すためには、そういうプロフィールのキャラクターを映画に登場させることが必要だと多分自分は無意識のうちに考えていて、そういうキャラクターたちを、登場させていったんだと思います。
And maybe subconsciously I felt that these were the people and these were the characters that this young woman who needs to recover and move on from her experiences needed to meet in the film.
So difficult question, so I'm sorry. But thank you for asking. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a question lined up then, and we've probably got probably two after that. So
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I've been a huge fan of you since Voices of a Distant Star, and I really enjoyed the movie today. My question is more about the novels that you write about for each movie. So recently, for most of your movies, you've been publishing also a novel simultaneously with your movies. So I wanted to ask about your process of writing those novels and how does it differ from writing the screenplay?
はいはい。ありがとうございます。よく知ってますね、僕が小説も書いていること。
You're very well informed.
ですね、君の名という作品を作った時にこれもそのプロデューサーに言われたんですね。映画を売るためには小説も同時に書いて発売した方がいいと、その方があなたの映画を知らない人も本屋さんであなたの映画を知ることができるからヒットさせたいんだったら小説も書けと言われました。
When I made Your Name, the producer said to me, if you want to sell this film, it's best to write a book as well to go with it. And then even if people don't know about the movie, they'll find out about it when they go to the bookshop.
その時僕が言ったのはそんなことはできないというふうに答えました。監督という仕事は意外に忙しいんだから映画を作りながら同時に小説なんて書けないというふうに答えました。
And I said, I can't. I'm too busy directing this movie. I can't possibly write a book at the same time.
その時にプロデューサーが言ったのは、いや、あなたが書くかゴーストライターを立てるかどちらか選べと言われました。
And he said, well, either you write it or we get a ghostwriter.
で、ゴーストライターは嫌だからじゃあ書きますと言って、ちょっとすごく大変だったんですけど、小説を君の名の時に書いたんですね。
And I didn't want a ghostwriter, so I wrote it myself. But it was a struggle. But I did write the novel of Your Name.
で、書いてみたら大変だったんですけど、でも自分の役に立ったんです。と言いますのは、その映画を作りながら小説を書くという行為は、映画の中で無意識に描いている一つ一つのキャラクターの行動に自分でなぜキャラクターはこういう行動をしているのか、なぜキャラクターはこういう言葉をしゃべるのかというのを自分自身でその意味を見つける作業だからなんですね。小説というのは全て言葉でできているから無意識のうちに絵で考えていたことを全て言葉に置き換えて僕は考えることをしていきました。それが映画作りにすごく反映して良い影響をもたらしてくれたんです。
And while it was hard to write the novel, it was actually very useful for me because I was writing and making the film at the same time, and I found that all the things that I had drawn unconsciously, all the actions of the characters and the things the characters said, I had to find the meaning for those things because I had to write it down and put it into words. And so the things that had been subconscious, I had to actually consciously think about. So it was a useful process that then was reflected in the film.
あと小説は印税がね結構ねでかいんですよ。印税が入ってくるのでそれもいいなと思って今作に至るまでに小説を書くようになりました。
Also, you get good royalties. So I've tried to do it ever since.
And there is still an American live-action remake of Your Name in the Pipeline. So yeah, that's still happening.
そうですね、いや、どういうものになるのかまだわかりませんが、楽しみにしています。
Yes, I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, we have got time for two brief questions. I think brief is probably going to be the word of the day now. There's lots of pointing at you. Is that actually the second row we're pointing at? Or third row we're pointing at?
Second row.
Second row, okay, there's a very popular, you should be. Nevertheless, I have a question down here, and then the second question will be from that side. And David is completely up to you. You've got to get around David over there to get a question. So yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Do you think which character do you think you relate most to?
Oh, that's a good question.
似てるキャラはグッドクエスチョン多分覚えてますかね、スズメの保護者である玉木という女性ですね。40歳の、女性が一番スズメに似てるかな、一番僕に似てるかなというふうに思います。
I think the character of Tamaki, 40-year-old lady who takes care of Suzume, is the one that's most similar to myself.
玉木とスズメが雨の降っている駐車場で喧嘩をするシーンがありますよね。こうお互い本当は心の中で思っていたことをこう言葉にして投げつけ合ってしまうシーンです。
And there's a scene where Suzume and Tamaki fall out in the rain in the car park, and where they tell each other how they really feel.
玉木がスズメに向かって私の人生返してよというふうに叫びますよね。
And Tamaki shouts at Suzume and she says, "Give me my life back."
僕はたまに娘に対して思うことです。
That's what I think about my daughter.
でもそれだけじゃないというふうに玉木はそうなんですよね。それだけじゃないんだと。他にもいろんな気持ちがあるんだと。そういう気持ちはやっぱり自分自身と重なります。
But then she says it's not just that.
Yeah.
She has there are lots of other feelings that she has towards Suzume, and that kind of overlaps with the way I feel.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also just think it's an interesting fact. Also love the fact that you have a rescue cat at home called Suzume, don't you?
Oh.
そうなんです。スズメという映画を作っている最中に、保護猫を2匹もらって名前をどうしようかなと迷いました。
Yeah, I got these two rescue cats while I was making Suzume, and I didn't know what to call them.
でもスズメしかないなと思ってスズメという名前をつけたんですね。
But I thought one of them's got to be Suzume.
ただスズメって日本語で、何を表すかわかりますか？スパローですかね。スズメです。
But I don't know if you know, the word Suzume in Japanese means sparrow.
だからよくうちのスズメが鳥のスズメを追いかけてます。
So my Suzume likes to chase after Suzume.
See the film analysis we have in the BFI. We have got one. There's a huge pressure on you. I don't mean to put a huge pressure on you. We have the final question, so
Okay, yeah.
no pressure.
So, because I watch all your films and your films have really interesting characters.
That's a good start.
And I was gonna ask you the question about the talking cats, because it's such really interesting characters. We see kind of the whole story is leaning by the cat, the two main character chasing by the cat, and just wondering how how you inspired, what kind of inspiration you get to make to create those character, and why we see the black cat appears so